Good morning. We've moved this segment of our Chemist Corner outside the building. That's because we're going to be doing something a little more lively.
Yeah.
Jesse Miller's here with us this morning from the U of I. Hello.
We're still sticking with the theme of oxidation, though.
That's right. So I showed some oxygen, and we talked a little bit about oxidation, and I said that it was, oxidation reduction is a transfer of electrons from one element to the other. And usually, oxidation reductions give off a lot of energy because you're going from a high energy state to a low energy state, and you got to get rid of that extra energy, and it's what we call exothermic.
Okay.
And you saw with the Cheetos that if you speed the reaction up quite a bit, it give off a lot of energy.
Right. That was bright and hot.
But just now, I showed you oxygen, and a lot of people think, well, okay, oxidation must involve oxygen, and it does and it doesn't. It's a transfer of electrons. You don't have to have oxygen to do that.
Okay.
Okay. You can. There's aluminum and iodine will react as an oxidation reduction reaction. It's still an oxidation, even though there's no oxygen in there. Now we're going to do another oxidation reduction reaction. This one does involve oxygen, but it's fixed in rust. Okay. This is iron oxide. You know, like we all get off our cars eventually here in Illinois.
Taking it off mine.
That's right. I scraped this off of Robert's car a little bit earlier this morning. And we're going to take that and we're going to mix it with some aluminum powder.
Okay.
This is actually aluminum flake because it was easier to see than the powder.
Mm-hmm.
So aluminum and the rust, what's going to happen is the electrons are going to flow from one to the other, and the aluminum is going to become aluminum oxide.
Okay.
And the ferric oxide, or rust, is going to become molten iron. It's going to give off a lot of energy, and it's a lot of flame and destruction, and then you should see some molten iron dripping out of the bottom of this, which is...
You're making a volcano.
I'm sort of making a volcano, in a way.
What's the catalyst?
Well, this isn't really a catalyst. This is glycerin. It's pretty thick stuff, and now that it's been sitting out here for a while, it's pretty cold. And I'm using this to set it off. I have a little bit of potassium permanganate, and glycerin and potassium permanganate react exothermically, and that's going to trigger the thermite reaction. Now, they used to use thermite to weld railroad rails together back in the 30s, 40s, and things like that. So it gives off a lot of energy. So we want to step back after I do this.
Join me over here.
One of the reasons why I do this is because it gives us a little bit of time, and they tell me never to look inside this while I'm doing this. So anyway, we're going to add the glycerin. You're going to see a little puff of smoke as the permanganate and the glycerin react, and then the reaction should take place. I brought it back up just in case. It's a little cold, so the reaction is going to take a little slower, but soon. This is
what always gets me, is the anticipation, waiting for it to happen. Because I feel like, oh, it's not going to happen, I'll go check it out.
See, now the problem with a thing like this is, you know, it's kind of like a dud with a firecracker. You don't really want to go up and touch it because you're afraid it's going to go off in your face. And so I'm a little concerned that it's not smoking. I'm going to get some more glycerin.
Okay.
Just a second.
We'll babysit it.
You can babysit it. I'm hiding behind the fence.
I know, you went all the way behind the vehicle.
There we go.
Okay.
All right.
Oh gosh, Jesse. Okay.
All right, there's the smoke.
So we're smoking a little bit, and the glycerin's taken off, and there's the thermite.
Oh my gosh.
All right.
Cool.
And if Al can get a close-up on this.
That made molten iron that fast?
You can see the molten iron here.
Wow.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
So
this is pretty nifty.
What kind of temperature did you just attain in there?
Well, boy, you put me on the spot. Iron melts probably in the upwards of 1,200 degrees Celsius, somewhere around in there.
Jeez.
And they got there that fast.
They got there that fast. Because that once the electrons start to flow, just as we saw with the Cheetos, it goes pretty quick because it feeds amongst itself. You add more heat, the reaction speeds up. Adds more heat, reaction speeds up. There's a feedback loop, and it all happens all in a chemical sense. It's not that fast, right? Explosions happen much faster. If we were to contain these, they used to use this in World War II, maybe World War I. I'm not really sure. Thermite bombs, okay, and that's basically what was in it. Now, once you contain it, and those gases don't have any place to heat, and the gases don't have any place to go, it can become explosive. By doing it out in the open here, we just got a lot of flame and a lot of energy being given off, but it was kind of, you know, it wasn't contained, so we're not worried about it exploding.
Right.
You know what I took away from all of this?
What?
Eat Cheetos and you get iron.
Something like
The
that.
practical lesson brought to you by Robert Reese.
Could have left all that stuff in the middle out.
That's cool.
It is, well, it's quite hot actually, but anyway.
And this is nothing that you even remotely want to try to attempt it.
No, you wouldn't. For one thing, I'm using reagent grade chemicals. It's really important, surface area is really important. So the aluminum and the rust needs to be very fine powder. So you're not going to just go and scrape it off your car like I said, or take aluminum foil and mix it together. It's not enough surface area for it to react. Or it could, but it's very unlikely.
Yeah.
So we use these really fine powders and mix it up thoroughly. And so, you know, your average person is not going to have these kind of materials on hand. So I'm not too worried about kids going out and trying this.
Good.
But in case you're thinking about it, don't try it.
Right.
But it's not that likely because they're not going to be able to get their hands on the materials that they need to.
Got it.
You know, back in the day when you could buy dynamite at the drugstore or the hardware store, you know, you could probably get the materials for this.
A little different now.
Nowadays we can't do that.
All right, Jesse.
Probably a good thing.
Chemist Corner. That was cool.
Another explosive segment. So
And I didn't scare you this time.
I know. I felt like I was prepped and ready. I appreciate it. We'll be right back.